Or hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for watching this video. It's a really nice day here in Denver, Colorado, as you can see. So in this video we're going to talk about transplanting tomatoes over to a larger bucket, or in this case I'm going to be transplanting my Yellow Pear tomatoes, which are these three right here, these three taller ones. And I'm gonna be putting them into this 17-gallon red bucket that I got here from Walmart. So as you can see here, it's just a regular bucket. I paid about, I think it was like $4 or $4.50, I'm not too sure. I was thinking about transplanting all 4 of these plants into this, but now I just don't feel so sure. This is a Aerogarden Mighty Mini Cherry Tomato, and as you can see, there's a little tiny flower on there. So going back to transplanting these tomatoes, I'm gonna show you everything that I'm gonna be using today in this video. So here I have the Super Thrive. I really recommend this stuff. It's like vitamins for your plants. If you're gonna, and I already poured it into this beaker here. So there's 5 millimeters of Super Thrive in there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour it into this 1 gallon jug. So I'm also, or this 1 gallon jug that I got here. I also got this from Walmart. I think I paid about $3 for it, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that into the water here. I'm also gonna use that when I'm doing the feeding towards the end once the plants are transplanted. And then over here I have the Miracle-Gro shake and feed for tomatoes, fruits, and vegetables plant. I really highly recommend this stuff. I've used it in the past to grow it. What I like about it is it's basically everything in one. So it has everything that your tomatoes are gonna need while they're growing. There's a lot of good stuff in here. So, and basically I already poured it, or how much I'm going to be using into this beaker here. So I have 11 tablespoons of the shake and feed in this beaker here. And I basically just used one of these to measure it. And then over here I got my drill. So I'm gonna be using this drill to make holes down here at the bottom, just so that the water has a place to flow out. This is a lot cheaper than buying another gardening pot of equal size. One of equal size would have cost me over $30. And then I saw this and I'm like, this is perfect. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pre-mix my Super Thrive into this gallon of water here, and then put it aside so I can go ahead and drill holes on this. So I'm just gonna pour it in there. And then just shake it up a little bit. And I have a little bit more in there, so I just wanna make sure I get that all out. So now that that's done, I'm just gonna put this aside. I just wanted to show you what I do when I transplant my plants, because Super Thrive is just really awesome stuff. If you have plants that are dying, or if you just want them to be a little bit healthier, I really recommend this stuff. I use it in my hydroponic system. I use 1 drop per gallon, and it's just great. This is a must-have for any type of plants, outdoor or indoors. I forgot to mention to you, I also got this cage here. I got this at Lowe's, and I'll show you a better image of this. I'm gonna keep this as support. It's still a little bit too small, but I also want to use it to keep the squirrels away from my plant or from the tomatoes. I've have some issue with squirrels, so I'm hoping this helps keep them away at least until they get a little bit bigger. And so here's my bucket. I went ahead and moved it to the ground. But I'm just going to take the drill that I have here and I'm going to do 4 holes on each side. Alright, so the reason that we're doing this with holes is because we don't want all that moisture to stay in here. So if we're overfeeding the tomatoes, we don't want them to drown or anything or cause any damage. So I'm not sure if you can see, but I drilled some little holes, and that's just to make sure that the water so that the water doesn't stay in here. I'm also gonna put some on the sides here. I'm gonna do 4 of them. Okay. So as you can see, I drilled a few more holes. There's a line on the tubes, so I kind of just followed that along. But my little holes. So let me show you what I'm using as far as the soil. So I ended up getting 2 different types of soil. I originally wanted the Miracle-Gro Garden soil, which is this one right here. It's actually for ground use, but I've used it in the past in pots and it was okay. I've had success in it. And then I got this one too. When I went to the store, they only had about 3 bags of this one left, and then I ended up getting, they ran out of that one, so I ended up getting this one too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one as my filler on the bottom. And then I'm going to use the Miracle-Gro on top. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my first bag here. And I'm just going to pour it into this bucket. Alright, so here's a look at it. So, first layer is done, so I just kind of packed it in there, and I'm going to put the other bag. Okay, so on top of that one, I'm going to use the Miracle-Gro Garden soil all-purpose. I know it says garden soil, but I've used it in the past in pots, and I've had a lot of success growing tomatoes, watermelons, some of my other green things. When I was in Hawaii, I grew some melons with this, so it's awesome stuff. I really trust the brand. So now that the bag is open, I'm gonna go ahead and pour it into this one. The reason I wanted to use this one on top of the other one is because the soils, it's a little bit finer, and I really like that when I'm transplanting. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to use this one for the top. As you can see, there's a huge difference between Miracle-Gro and some of the other brands, in my opinion, versus this one. This one's like more mesh type, but it's still nice. So now that this is done, let's go ahead and let me show you the plants. I wanted to do all 4 of them in here, but now that I think about it, the container's just going to be too small. I'm going to go ahead and put the cherry tomatoes, this one right here, the little one. Get that camera right. I'm going to go ahead and put this one into its own little pot, just because this is a dwarf tomato, so it's going to stay really small. And as I said earlier in the video, I was thinking about doing all 3 of these into this bucket here, but I'm starting to think that maybe it's just going to be too small, so I'm thinking I'm just going to do 2 of them. But yeah, these are it. So these have been hardened. I hardened them for a week, but it's and then it's been about 10 days since they left my Aerogarden. And the first few nights I kept them inside, and I kept them inside, so I would take them out throughout the day, put them in shady areas at first, just to make sure that they don't get sunburned or damaged or anything. And then by day 5, I started leaving them in the sun all day, and they just basically been in the sun all the time, so they're ready to be transplanted. Do one here and then one here, kind of close to the center, only because I'm going to be using this as support. Also a way to keep some of the squirrels out. I don't want them to dig out the plant or try to eat it. They've done that in the past. I'll keep you updated on that and let you know if it works or not. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do, I had a shovel, but I can't find it right now. I think one of the kids grabbed it. But first thing I'm gonna do is just dig a hole where I want to put my plants. I'm thinking one right here, and then I'll put the other one over here too. So I'm gonna take the bigger one. This is, as I said earlier, this is the Yellow Pear Tomato. So these tomatoes, it's an indeterminate variety, so it's gonna grow really tall, about 12 feet tall. One of my friends is growing them in a container just like this. He's growing 2, but they're side by side. Surprisingly, they're doing well. I actually tried the yellow pear tomato about a week and a half, right around the time that I transferred these plants, and they were just really good. So I'm excited. But as you can see, some of the roots have started going through the container, so it's ready to be transplanted. I wish it was a little bit taller, but it's okay. What I'm going to do is just kind of rip this a little bit, or tear it, just so that the roots have room to grow, and I'm just going to bury it all together. As you can see, there's a little sucker right there growing. The true leaves used to be right here, but I took them off a while back ago and I put them into this here. But there is some suckers, so I'm going to go ahead and remove these 2 leaves right here, and I'm going to bury it maybe up to right here. So I got my shears here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the suckers. There's a little tiny one trying to come out there. And there's a little tiny one on this side too. So I'm just going to take those off. And then I'm also going to remove these 2 leaves right here. So, and then I'll remove that sucker along with it. You don't really want suckers with these ones, or the way I like growing my tomatoes, I like growing them tall. Once they reach a certain height, then I like them to push out. That's when I let some of the suckers grow. But I do prune them just to make sure that they don't stay, just to make them stay nice and neat. So I'm just gonna rip it a little bit, see if I can remove some of it, or see if I can remove most of it. It's okay to plant it with these on. I just want to make sure that the roots, I don't want it to get root bound. So I want to make sure that the roots can start spreading. I'm just going to squeeze it a little bit, just make sure that the roots have enough. Sorry, I put that too high. But this is basically what it's going to look like when I go ahead and transplant it. So I'm going to, I'm going to go ahead, I have another set of leaves there. I'm going to go ahead and remove that one too. And maybe that was a little bit higher. So I think that's good. Let me go ahead and move the camera so you can see. Okay, so once I put it into the bucket, this is basically what it's gonna look like. I want the soil to come right about right there where the leaf was. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start filling it up here. And it's okay to go a little bit higher. One of the nice things about tomatoes, if you see these little hairs right here, the tomato, because it is a vine, one of the things that I really love about the tomato is whenever those little hairs are touching the dirt, it automatically starts rooting. So it's gonna start rooting from the top here. So that's why I'm going a little bit higher. And I just want to squeeze down a little bit. I don't want root rot to happen on the bottom here. Okay, so that's what it's gonna look like once I put it in there. And then let's go ahead and do the next one. Okay, I went ahead and did the same thing for the other one. I removed as much of that cardboard on there. I was gonna leave it on there, but then like, you know, let's just go ahead and take it off. So you can kind of see the roots all over here. And I'm gonna grab my shears here, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and remove these two leaves right here. There's also a little sucker coming out of them. So I'm just gonna snip it off. And I'm also gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna just, you know, squeeze it a little bit just so that the roots can spread out. They were starting to get pretty tight in this one as well. And I'm gonna go ahead and put it here in the same place. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, just cover it up with the soil. And with this one, I'm also gonna go a little bit higher, right around where the, here, let me move the camera. Alright, so with this one, I'm also gonna do the same thing. If you can see right there, that's where those first set of true leaves were. So I'm just gonna plant, or put the soil right about there. And then I'm gonna gently press down. So that's what the two tomatoes in the bucket are gonna look like. So what I plan to do is, as they grow, I want it to grow a little bit sideways. I mean, I still want it to grow tall, but I want it to grow a little bit to the side. That way they can both have room. Hopefully I won't have any issues, only because this is a really big plant and I'm not too sure if one is going to take more nutrients than the other, so I'll just have to make sure that I keep an eye on them. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add the fertilizer or the plant food, which, as I said earlier, is the shake and feed from Miracle-Gro. This stuff is awesome. So I'm going to take the beaker that I have with 11 tablespoons of my fertilizer here, or the plant food. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pour it on here. I don't want to get it too close to the plants. So, and then we're gonna mix it into the dirt. But you want to keep it as far away as possible from the root of the plant. So that's what it's gonna look like once you pour it on there. As I said earlier, try to keep it away at least at first. Once it goes over the shock of being transplanted, when you do your next feeding, in this case, because this one's every 3 months, then you could just shake it all around, but you still want to keep it away from the stem. And then I'm just gonna mix it into the ground a little bit. So what's gonna happen is once you start watering, these nutrients are gonna start going down, and then the tomato plants, they're only gonna take what they need. So once it's all been mixed in, then you could just go ahead and compact it. Okay, so now I'm gonna take that water jug that I had here. This is where I put the 5 millimeters of Super Thrive into 1 gallon of water, and I mixed it in. I'm not gonna pour it all in here, but I am gonna pour some of it in here. Super Thrive is just really good for your plants. I learned about Super Thrive originally from my grandma. She was always buying plants from the store that were almost dying, and she would bring them home, and then she would use the Super Thrive, and next thing you know, these plants just started sprouting. It was amazing. So I've kind of had a head start with it. Alright, I got my water hose here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and water it. That should be good there. So this is gonna be what it should look like, or at least what it looks like for me once I'm done watering it. I'm thinking maybe I did have enough room here for the other one, but that's okay. So as you can see, everything looks good. Pretty happy about that. Yellow Pear Tomatoes. I don't know, something about these tomatoes, it's just, they're yellow and they look like pears. I really like them. Alright, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and put the tomato cage here that I got. And one of the reasons, I've never really used such a big one in such a small pot, but I also want to make sure that I'm keeping the squirrels away. And then once the plant gets a little bit bigger, it's also going to provide some support. It's going to be a little bit too small, only because yellow pear tomatoes, they do grow, or they can grow up to 12 feet or even higher. The one that my friend has is, right now, it's growing about 7 feet, but he showed me some pictures of it last year when he grew them. And it was 12 feet, so it was actually higher than 12 feet. He ended up cutting the tip to get it to start growing, and next thing you know, he started getting a bunch of yellow pears. I wasn't here when he harvested his tomatoes, so I didn't get to try them last year, but he started getting a couple weeks ago, and I was able to try it for the very first time. Alright, so this is done, so I'm going to go ahead and move it to the place where I want it, and then I'll show you a video of what it's going to look like, or what it looks like. What I did is, after I was done with the video, I felt like the plants were still a little bit too low. Once I had watered it, the soil went down. So after the video was done, I went ahead and added another bag. And I didn't add more fertilizer, but what I did add was moisture crystals, which are those little white things that you see there. But it looks like they took, so I'm just gonna keep an eye on it. But this is what the tomato setup looks like. Once these tomatoes get a little bit longer, I'm hoping to have this as support, or this as support, the basketball court, which we don't use anymore. But yeah, So if you like this video, subscribe to my channel and like it, and I'll see you on my next video or next update.